Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and my law firm assists nurse practitioners with employment contract issues. Today I'm going to talk about what is claims-made insurance for a nurse practitioner. So, if you're an NP and you are either employed with a private practice, or maybe you have your own practice but you're in a state where that's allowed, you're going to need malpractice insurance. And there are two common types of malpractice insurance for NPs. One is called claims-made coverage, and the other is called occurrence-based coverage. Now, if you work for a hospital or hospital network, you're going to be covered. They're either going to have some kind of claims-made policy that they're going to pay for along with the tail insurance, or maybe they are self-insured. So this is more directed to people that are in kind of private practice or with a physician-owned group. All right, so first, claims made simply means a policy has to be in effect when the claim is actually made. So if you terminate your relationship with an employer, there still is going to be a gap in between the last patient you see and then the last day they can sue you. And so your policy ends when your contract is terminated with the employer. And in most states, there's a 2-year statute of limitations. That just simply means how long somebody has to sue someone for something. 2 years is the average amount for most states for a medical malpractice claim. And so since the original policy ends when you leave the employer, you need a gap policy, and that's called tail insurance. And so a good rule of thumb is tail insurance is around twice what your annual premium is. Now, the employment contract is going to dictate who pays for tail insurance if you have a claims-made policy. So you need to look into the contract, and first you need to see, are they going to pay for your underlying annual premium? So your annual premium is just how much it costs to insure you annually. They absolutely should pay for that. So if you have an employer, they need to pay for that. Now, as far as tail insurance goes, it's hit or miss who pays for it, but you need to look into the language of the contract and then see, all right, if we have a claims-made policy and the contract terminates, who is responsible to pay for tail insurance? Tail is a one-time payment. You don't need to pay for it every year. And then it can cover different amounts of time. It's really up to the person purchasing the tail. Could be a year, could be 3 years, could be indefinite. It would make the most sense to get an indefinite policy. The price between a 2-year plan and an indefinite plan is not that much of a difference. And there are some exceptions to 2 years for someone to sue you for malpractice. For instance, when minors become adults, and a few other exceptions. But just makes sense if you're going to get covered, that you're covered indefinitely. You don't have to worry about it. The other type of insurance is occurrence-based coverage, and that just means a policy has to be in effect when the malpractice occurs. And so in that scenario, you do not need tail insurance. So claims made is the only policy where you would need tail insurance. Now, what's an average cost for an NP for malpractice? Well, I'd say $2,000 per year is kind of a normal annual premium. It will change somewhat based upon specialty, but let's just say you're an FMP, probably $2,000 is like a good, average amount. It also will be state dependent. Some states have stricter caps on medical malpractice claims, and therefore their coverage is going to be cheaper, like Texas, for instance. Now, if you had the choice between a claims-made policy and an occurrence-based policy, it would depend upon who's paying for it. So if the employer is going to pay for it and they don't care what kind of policy you get, getting an occurrence-based policy is a no-brainer. If you're going to pay for it, you need to figure out and kind of do a math equation of, all right, how long do I plan to be with the employer? Occurrence-based coverage is about a third more expensive than a claims-made policy. So let's say you'll be with an employer for 1 year. You're like, all right, I'm only staying a year, then we're moving. Well, getting an occurrence policy is absolutely the way to go, because you're only paying a third more for the underlying policy with no tail insurance, whereas with a tail policy, although it's a third less, the tail cost is going to be twice what that annual premium was. And so you'll save significantly if it's a short-term employment and you have an occurrence-based policy. that's the difference between claims made and occurrence-based. If you're an NP in your own practice, it's up to you what kind of policy you're going to get. Most people who set out to have their own, practice plan to do it long term. So if that's the case, claims made policy might make more sense. Last consideration: there are a few ways of getting out of paying for tail insurance. So one is you just negotiate with the employer in advance so that they pay for it. That's kind of obvious. Two, your new employer can pay your old tail, and that's called nose coverage. That's one way of getting out of it. And then three, if you stay with the same insurance company that you currently have, they will or at least they will generally just roll over your old policy into your new one. You wouldn't have to purchase tail insurance. Now, there's no way you're going to know if when you start one job that your next job is going to have the same insurance provider, but that is one way of getting out of having to pay for it. All right. If you have any questions about your employment contract, feel free to call my law firm at the phone number listed below in the description, or you can reach us through our website, chellelaw.com. If you thought this video was helpful, please like, subscribe to the channel. We release videos every single day. I appreciate you watching the video. Thanks.